Thank you for joining us, fans from all over the world. And it's a pleasure and an honor again to be with you as we look back over the first T20 international between the West Indies and Sri Lanka. We also will be briefly looking at the second T20 international that comes up tomorrow, starting at 8:30 a.m. Jamaica time, 9:30 a.m. Eastern Caribbean time. We're happy to have those that joining us online from the Facebook platform as well, and to you, the YouTube fans, we welcome you on this show, reviewing the first T20 international between the West Indies and Sri Lanka, looking at the West Indies' true dominance in T20 cricket. I have along with me the newly minted Cricket Hall of Famer, Mr. Leon Francis. He's the president of Cricket Show USA, and he's a match analyst with us here at the Development Academy. He's also a contributor to us as well. We also have newly minted once again Hall of Famer, Mr. Dennis Eat, with us, continuing with us from the last show, and he's here to give his expertise on the game that gone by as well. We also have the returning Hall of Famer, John Melbourne. Been a while since he's here, but he will be here with us to share his thoughts continually on West Indies cricket. We also have the honorary secretary of the Cricket Hall of Fame, Mr. Dale Brown. He's also a contributor with us here at the Development Academy, and we wholeheartedly thank our panelists this evening for joining us for this very important look on the first T20 international that the West Indies would have played against Sri Lanka just a day ago. Um, Hall of Famer Mr. Francis, your opening thoughts on West Indies' victory yesterday over Sri Lanka. Was it too close for your liking?
Well, before I go there, let me congratulate you and your wife for the newborn baby, and hope both mother and the child are doing fine. You look a happy man.
Oh, yes.
And yes, indeed, I thought it was a victory that was deserving, but a little too close to comfort. After having gotten such a wonderful start, I thought they would have played safe and obtained the same result. I thought the team, I didn't expect the young man Drakes to be in the squad, but however he got in, and I don't know, he might be the only suspect for the next test, in my view. The
Shamar
score,
Springer.
Springer, yes, Springer, that's right. I always mix him up. Springer, I hope he looks to be the only person that might be a casualty for the second test. But having won the toss, I thought I would have done the same. If they won the toss, they would have sent the opposition in, and they did so. And to have gotten them out about 178, 79, we was a good total, and they held their own and got the total, but it was a little too close. I felt they should use a little more caution. The need for these big shots that they played, and they were. It looked very scary at one point after the two openers went, and instead of working the ball around and get twos and singles, they chose to go over the top and were giving a little scare. But however, a win is a win, and I hope they can do a little better come the second test, which starts the second T20 starting tomorrow, like you said, 8:30 your time, 9:30 mine. So I'll give them 60%, but I want to see them perform better, that they can introduce some of the younger guys in the squad to prepare them. But win the series should be the priority by winning the next match. And after that, anything can happen. They can bring in some ones for future, and who knows? You may find, you may see a young emerging player coming out of the
Absolutely.
right. Mm.
Very, very good thoughts there. Hall of Famer John Melbourne, your take on the West Indies dominance yesterday over Sri Lanka. The ranked number 3 playing the ranked number 8 there in Sri Lanka yesterday. Not an easy place to go and play cricket.
Mm.
Very good afternoon, first of all, to our viewers, our listeners, and certainly good afternoon to our panelists. And
Mm.
let me just say congratulations to our host for his newborn, to him and his lovely wife. And if I may ask, Junior, what's the name of the baby?
Bella Kaira Gloria Codlin.
Oh,
Okay. All right. Certainly, congratulations, Junior. Also, congratulations to our newest Hall of Famers, Dennis Heath and Leon Francis. Welcome to can I say, welcome to the club. Um, you know, for me, a win is a win. And I am happy that we won the first game of this 3-game T20 series. I was a little bit apprehensive about the game, actually, seeing what India had just done to Sri Lanka. And I figured that Sri Lanka would come into the game with blood in their eyes to say, well, West Indies can't do us that. But I thought overall it was a good game for West Indies to win. Getting a 107-run opening partnership is always good in a T20 game, especially with overs to spare, so to speak. I also, watching the game, thought that the West Indies didn't go as deep as they probably should in the recent World Cup when they lost Brandon King. I think Brandon, I look at sports and look at teams that have chances to win championships but lose the championships. And sometimes they lose because they lose an important cog in the wheel. And I think that Brandon King in the recent World Cup for West Indies was an important cog in that wheel. And once he gets off at the top of the order, usually West Indies do well. So congratulations for the first win. And hopefully we can go into the game tomorrow and also win. I actually am a little disappointed, though, that one of the players I preach wasn't in the 11, who is Ali Catanese. I hope that maybe they bring him in the team for tomorrow's game. And that's about my take on this opening game, Junior.
Yeah, very good thoughts there from the returning Hall of Famer, John Melbourne. Um, Mr. Honorary Secretary, Mr. Brown, just one of you, Brown, today. We had two the last time. Um, Looking back at Lewis and King opening the batting, um, what comes to your mind seeing those two dominating in a foreign condition? Lewis having previous experience of touring Sri Lanka about 2 times before this trip and have done absolutely well over there. How impressed were you by him coming back into the team and performing so good yesterday?
Thank you, Mr. Codlin. Thank you for being the facilitator, the host, and for inviting me. And I'm surrounded with three Cricket Hall of Fame members. So I'm very, very thrilled to have them with me and to be part of their group. So
Are you saying
congrats
you're in
once
good
again.
company?
Congrats once again, gentlemen. It couldn't have been three finer gentlemen, and I'm very proud of all three of you. Evan Lewis, we know he had some problems. He returned to action in the recently concluded CPL. He had one outstanding inning, and what an inning it was when he made that century, but not much else after that. So I was a little bit apprehensive as to how well he would have done. But after the first over, I think it was the fifth and sixth deliveries that he hit for a 6 and a 4. I was really not worried at all about him. Brandon King came back, and what is most significant to me, gentlemen, is both of these gentlemen were returning to the team. One from injury that we know are physical, and the other one might have been more personal problems. But both of them showed tremendous resilience in the manner in which they came and expressed themselves and set the tone for the team to chase, which was not a really easy total, given in the fact that no one had chased the total at that ground and won it. It's the team batting first that wins at that ground. So I think that they really have to be commended greatly for the job that they did. And as I said, showing some mental fortitude and resilience in returning to the team from, in King's case, an injury, and from Lewis's case, what would be termed personal reasons. So I'm very pleased with them, Mr. Codlin.
Very much so. Thank you for your thoughts, Mr. Brown. Hall of Famer Dennis Seed, your take on Evan Lewis, Brandon King, and also the victory yesterday over Sri Lanka.
Good afternoon to you, my fellow panelists, and of course, welcome to our listeners and viewers of the West Indies Cricket Development Agencies. We are very pleased that you can join us, and we hope you will stay with us for the remainder of the show. To my panelists, I'm very delighted to see the performance of the West Indies in yesterday's match against Sri Lanka. Dale, panelist Brown said that no team has normally chased and won in this ground, and it led me to believe that maybe things have changed somewhat, because Sri Lanka's captain Asalanka, who should be well aware of this, had said at the start that had he won the toss, I think he said he would certainly have bowled first. So I'm not sure what is happening there, but nonetheless, Evan Lewis' performance sends a message to the likes of Hetmeyer, Pooran, and those other West Indian contracted players who have decided that they aren't willing, able, or prepared to give up what it takes for the West Indies. It was certainly very pleasing to see Lewis's 50 coming in 28 balls. So he did magnificently with a strike rate of 178 and marginally below that of Brandon King, who with his 191 strike rate set the pace very convincingly for the West Indies. Admittedly, they should have and could have made this a little less nail-biting towards the end, but nonetheless, it culminated in a victory. There were two performances that first, let me say that I'm in favor of not changing the winning combination so early. However, I was a little disappointed with the performance bowling-wise of Romario Shepherd, even though he was the bowler with 2 of the wickets to have fallen. Nonetheless, his manner, his mode, his types of delivery very often leads me to think that he is not thinking consistently about what should be done. And so I'm thinking quite likely that I would perhaps be prepared to replace him for the next match, though replacing a winning combination is always a difficult thing to do. Shamar Springer has shown that, yes, he has the keenness, but he still has a long way to go. Nonetheless, I will give him one more shot in the next match, and before I rest him, watching his performance closely. So overall, I was very delighted that the West Indies won and won so convincingly, and I'm looking forward to the next match to see how much they have benefited and how much they can carry on in the manner that they set on this first T20 match. Back to you.
Hall of Famer, thank you, Mr. Heath. Hall of Famer John Melbourne. One of our panelists the other day mentioned India losing to Sri Lanka at home there in Sri Lanka, and so West Indies should take them lightly. But yes, it is the ranked number 1 team, India, playing the ranked number 8 Sri Lanka, going down to them. But India, since the World Cup final, have transitioned to a younger unit. So was it surprising that the West Indies was able to beat them in this first T20 yesterday?
I wouldn't say surprising, because sometimes I think we underestimate our West Indies team, our players. And we do have some not only good players in the squad now, but experienced players in the squad. And looking up and down the lineup, I mean, other than for maybe Shamar Springer, the rest of the players are pretty experienced, and you know, and because they play a lot of cricket now in the may I say, the Asian regions, they are very familiar with conditions in those areas. So no, I'm not surprised. I think we have a pretty experienced team now. Maybe even call them seasoned. Yes, we lost Brandon King. There Evan Lewis has been there. Robman Powell, certainly. Looking down the lineup, these guys are experienced cricketers. Shea Hope, although he didn't score a lot of runs, he is an experienced cricketer now in white ball cricket. So no, I am not surprised, and I'm hoping that they can double up their fare tomorrow, winning game 2 and to win the series.
Yes, absolutely. Hall of Famer Francis, there are some chatters online in social media about Rodman Powell and his performance. But even before Darren Sammy came in, if you remember, under the captaincy of Pollard, the West Indies ranked number 8. But since Powell took over, we went even to number 2 in the rankings one of the times. So the team has improved under the captaincy of Powell, with his performance not dipping below what we are seeing at the moment. So is it a fair call to drop Powell as the West Indies captain? Isn't that a bit of nonsense from some of those that are in social media space?
Mr. Carlin, that is a question that has been going around. And I will say, in as much as he's not performing at his best at this time, there's no need to change your captain at this point. In my view, he has led the team well, although his performance is below par for him. But I like the manner in which he's so calm, cool, and collective. That has something to do with the result. He's getting results from the players, and that is key. We cannot just do that at this time. He needs a longer run, and maybe in the probably next year if he continues to be in that vein. But I don't feel there's no need for the change at this point, especially on a tour. I don't think they'll do that. But if he's injured, well, someone said to me that he has a shoulder injury because sometimes as a captain, you may not be performing with a bat and you go kick a over or two. And if that comes off, it will bring your confidence back and then your batting also improves. So the answer is no, I wouldn't drop him. But he should be noticed. I mean, noticed. He should be told about his performance and try to do better so that the others can follow suit. So the answer is no. I would not drop him.
Yeah, very good thought there. Honorary Secretary Mr. Brown, looking back at the West Indies team in the test arena, the performance of Craig Brathwaite, when we called for his removal, persons were saying who is going to replace him, and they give every reason why Craig Brathwaite shouldn't be replaced, despite our test team is below par at the very bottom the other day before Pakistan overtake us in the World Test Championship. Yet the captain must not go. But with a improving T20 team that came down from 8 to number 3, they want to remove the captain. Your response to that?
Thank you, Mr. Godwin. It's a sad reflection because, as you are intimating, it makes you wonder what would motivate persons to be so inconsistent with their thought process. Because as much as you would praise the Darren Sammy, you have to give equal praise to Ravman Powell. And on paper, just looking at the result, you might not be impressed. But I will tell you something. Those 32 runs that he and Chase added for the fourth wicket yesterday, at a time when the West Indies were a little bit, they were faltering after that wonderful opening stand. Hope went cheaply, and then Brandon King went shortly afterwards. So we were 128 for 3 when he came in, and he left at 160 before he was out. So his performance, those 13 runs don't seem like a big deal to any degree, but he helped to steady the ship and make sure we didn't have a middle order collapse. And that partnership with Chase, as I said, turns out when you look back at the scoreboard that it was very, very crucial to the West Indies winning with just 5 balls to spare. Because if we didn't have that partnership, we don't know, your guess is as good as mine, how the other batsmen would have responded. The only criticism of him yesterday, 2 questions as far as captaincy. Good at Moti only bowled 2 overs, and so but they must have had good reason because again, we didn't open the bowling with our spinner as we normally would do. We use the 2 fast bowlers. And so it must have been a team decision to do that and a team decision to use Chase as the primary spinner as opposed to Moti. But I'll leave that for further comments. But as for him and his captaincy, I am pleased with it. I've seen him grow from the World Cup and I can see him getting better and better. And yesterday, he didn't bat very well, but he batted responsibly, which is what you expect from your captain to lead from the front.
Absolutely, to show the way. Um, when you, Mr. Hall of Famer Dennis Eat, when you look at the uh, Sheffield Rutherford just coming back into the West Indies team after sabbatical from the CPL early on, and his performance yesterday. How impressed were you by the young man's batting yesterday? The way he carries himself, the responsibility he shows after the departure of the West Indies captain, Rodman Powell.
Well, I'm very pleased to see Sherfin living up to our expectation of him. He has always been a strength in the middle order. And when the chips were down on more than one occasions, he's come in, held his head, became very disciplined, and performed to give West Indies a kind of boost that they are always looking for in that middle order. Now, on the question of the captaincy, we must not forget that the two previous captains of this team, Pollard and Pooran, left as captain because they were performing so very, very badly. And Powell, since he has become captain, has performed admirably in terms of his leadership skill, his way he's able to gel the team together and pull them in the right direction. Although he has not performed with the bat to the same extent that we would expect, he has certainly, in the position where he's at, he has held the team steady. And of course, leadership is, of course, part of the skills that we are looking for in the captaincy. And he certainly is leading his team. And the result of the movement from their previous position down at ranking position down at number 8 or 10 or below has now gone right higher up to number 3. So he's a challenging captain, and there's absolutely no reason to think that he should be replaced at this time.
Absolutely. Hall of Famer John Melbourne, are you concerned by the West Indies bowling yesterday? Romario Shepherd giving away a lot of runs, also was very sloppy, was the former vice captain in the T20 team, Azari Joseph. And it was not until Mooti came where we got back some kind of control of the innings. So looking ahead to tomorrow, are you concerned by the West Indies bowling, first with Hall of Famer Melbourne, then Hall of Famer Francis?
Okay.
Thank you so much, Junior. Yes, and I have been concerned with Azar's bowling now for a little while. He doesn't seem to have improved over the last year or so, 2 years, in a way that I was hoping. Well, I'm hoping that he would have been the leader right now of our fast bowling corps. But I don't know if it's the manner in which he maybe too many short balls instead of attacking the wicket, bowling wicket to wicket or what. But Azar doesn't seem to be using his equipment in the way I think a fast bowler of his ilk should be bowling at this point for West Indies. And yes, I think he's a little, I don't know if sloppy is the word, but he's just not stepping up to the plate. And he should be, maybe he's not an opening bowler. Maybe he should be coming on maybe first change or something like that instead of opening the bowling for West Indies. I don't know. But we'll see what happens tomorrow. But he was rested last month for in a game, and
South Africa series.
yeah, and for me, I have seen Jason Holder being rested, Alzari Joseph being rested, and yet when I look back of our cricketers of you call it the glory years, I look back at a Sir Garfield Sobers who played cricket at the drop of a hat around the world, and I've never heard him being rested. Nor Viv Richards, any of those, Curtly Ambrose. So I'm not sure what is happening with our cricketers today, and especially in that series where the games didn't go 5 days and he has to be rested. So I'm not sure what is happening with Alzari Joseph now, but he has to pick up he has to pick up the mantle now to lead this West Indies bowling attack.
Absolutely. Hall of Famer Francis, your comment on the bowling from the West Indies yesterday and looking forward to the game tomorrow. What are your expectations?
Well, I don't think West Indies should take Sri Lanka for granted. They're going to put all their efforts into at least leveling the series. West Indies, on the other hand, should go all out to make sure they win the series and they can bring in some of the unused players. With regards to Alzari Joseph, let me say openly, I am not concerned so much about Alzari Joseph. And if you notice, if you go back over in the CPL, just finished, Alzari Joseph was the fast bowler with the most wicket for the West Indies. Alzari Joseph over the period has had more catches dropped off his bowling. I don't know if anyone can find the stats to prove that, but almost every outing, I'm not too sure about the first test. Yes, he's a little expensive, but they regard him as an enforcer, the one who will stir up the batting. They'll be tended. I remember Massey and Lilly went to England, and Lilly was the fastest bowler, but Massey was taking the wicket from the other end. I look at it the same way, and I'm not at all concerned so much about Alzari. If you can tell me how many catches that were dropped from him, I will tell you that if those catches were even in the last match in the CPL, one of the players, key players in the match, was dropped off his bowling. He needs. I'm not satisfied entirely with his bowling, but I feel that if he can just put the ball and not bowl so much short deliveries, he probably will be less expensive. But then it seems as if when he's tight, he seldom gets the wicket. But he always ruffles a batter that he'll give you an opportunity to get a catch. So, in short, I say, no, I have had this conversation with many of our panelists on another show, and I strongly believe that Alzari, he can do better, but I'm not really concerned. Because when he and Shamar Joseph are in tandem, they tend to make West Indies bowl out the team, the 20 wickets in the test match, or have a breakthrough at any time. So that's my point, and that's my position.
Yeah. Honorary Secretary Mr. Brown, looking at Shamar Joseph yesterday and the way he bowled, he roughed up a few of the Sri Lankan batters. They were taken off guard. How impressed are you with the young man now finding his feet in the limited overs farm? We have seen what he can do in Test cricket. He has done it in Australia and done it in England and came here in the Caribbean and do it. But now showing a different color in the limited overs game. How impressed are you with Shamar Joseph again?
Yes, Mr. Codlin, very impressed with Shamar Joseph. He bowled 2 overs in the power play, and he was the only one. It was between Alzari, Romario Shepherd, and himself that bowled in the power during the power play. He was the only one who did not concede 10 runs in any of his overs. All his overs, the 2 overs were below 10 runs. And he took a very important wicket there also. He came back for his second spell, and he bowled the 13th over and then bowled the 18th over. By that time, for the 18th over, everybody is swinging for the fences because it's at the end of the inning. But only 10 runs were taken out of his over. And he showed remarkable maturity from the last time we saw him to yesterday in what would be strange conditions for him. And I think he adapted himself very well, acquitted himself, bowled tight, and bowled with fire because they were not comfortable facing him at all. So very impressed with him. And I think overall, he was our most impressive bowler. You know, overall, he was the most impressive. Economy-wise and having the batters not being comfortable, and especially in the power play, keeping it tight at that point.
Yeah, thank you for your thoughts again, Mr. Brown. Hall of Famer Dennis Heath, Moti now with the absence of Akil Hussain is the leader of the bowling attack in the spin department. Do you think he's having a lot to do and that might have contributed to um, might have contributed to Powell only bowling him for 2 hours because of his workload, and with also 5 games to come starting with tomorrow and 4 thereafter, putting the ODIs in tandem with those games. What's the mindset of the captain when it comes to Moti and the value that he adds to this West Indies bowling attack? Because as we would have alluded to earlier, it was when he came on yesterday we started to have control where the bowling is concerned.
Yes, there's absolutely no doubt that Rakesh Moti has earned his spot in this West Indian squad and team. And this is something we saw previously, not just in yesterday's match. So he has, over the past 2 or 3 series, has really shown the type of control, accuracy, and result that we would expect of a class bowler. Moti, in my opinion, has reached the point where I would rate him almost above Akil Hussain. Akil Hussain might have the upper hand when it comes to being a better performer with the bat. Nonetheless, Gudakesh Moti has shown to me that he is by far one of West Indies' premier slow bowler. It surprised me that he did not open the bowling this time round as he has done along with Hussain in earlier or previous T20 matches. But it is, of course, not surprising that with a trio of quick bowlers that Powell may well have decided to see what would transpire using the opening attack of Alzari Joseph and Shamar Joseph. As has been mentioned earlier by one of my colleagues, Alzari Joseph's performance has deteriorated somewhat way back since he became a very strong favorite in the IPL series. That is the point where I believe I've noted that his performance has not lived up to what he started to show in the prior Test match series. He was rewarded and made vice captain of the T20 teams at that time. And we saw that as a reward for his very capable performance. But we now note that along with his bowling performance, he has been removed as vice captain from the T20 side. Now I'm wondering, what was it that caused Darren Sammy to remove Alzari as vice captain of the T20? Yes, they've made him vice captain of the ODI squad, but we will see what transpired over there. I suspect that his performance may well improve a lot more if he does not have on his shoulders the responsibility of being a vice captain. As regarding Shamar Joseph, Mr. Dale Brown has said, as much as I agree, that Shamar has risen. When he first went into the IPL, he struggled somewhat with obviously not the familiarity of the IPL style. But he has now shown us that he is a bowler of distinct quality and substance. And I'm looking forward to watching him grow and hope that we are not disappointed. But right now, he is doing what is required for West Indian cricket.
Very much so. Very much so. Hall of Famer Melbourne, what's your expectation tomorrow from a West Indies perspective? Sri Lanka still with a very good team under the leadership of Sanat Jai Surya. They have been a reform and an improving team. Tomorrow, what your expectation from a West Indies perspective? What to guard against? How to come out victorious tomorrow? It's very important that we win the series tomorrow. How do we go about winning the series tomorrow?
Thank you so much, Julia. Again, I think this is a pretty experienced West Indies team now. And so, and along with the coach, Darren Sammy, I don't believe they have become swell-headed after winning that first game. I have to wonder, though, if West Indies didn't surprise Sri Lanka by opening with pace instead of spinners, as they have done during the in recent T20 games, and Sri Lanka might very well have been preparing to see spinners coming on in the power play, and that didn't happen. Now, will West Indies change tomorrow and open with Gudakesh Moti with Rastan Chase coming on in the second over? But we'll see. But as I said, I don't think they have become swell-headed after winning the first game, and I am sure that Rahman Powell is going into this game with a winning mindset, because he knows, win this one and you win the series, and certainly you don't want to go into a game 3 away from home to try to win a series. But I am expecting them to do well tomorrow. As Dennis said, he doesn't like to change a winning team. My only thought is that Ali Carthanes have to find a spot for him somewhere in the squad. I think we have enough bowling. You might have to leave out one of the all-rounders. And Ali Carthanes can bowl a little too, if push comes to shove. So, I'd like to see Ali Carthanes in the starting 11 tomorrow. But as I said, I expect West Indies to do well again and win the game too.
Your views, Miss Hall of Famer Francis?
About tomorrow, what do we expect of tomorrow? I think we cannot be complacent. That is number one. You, like Melbourne says, Mr. Melbourne said, we cannot become swell-headed. Their room, I personally didn't like how the batting reacted after we had such a great start. I felt that we should not take it for granted that runs are going to flow. Just like if you're running out of pipe, we should be cautious. You could have gotten the runs by hitting 2 balls on the ground and pick up your 2s and your singles and would have accomplished that feat. It would have looked better if we had lost 2 wickets or even 3 wickets. But to have lost 5 wickets was a little dicey for me. My only regard, they have to be, I don't think they drop a lot of catches. They didn't have an abundance of wides and no balls. So we got to really restrict them. And I think they were surprised with the double pace attack that they had. Weston has in Shamar Joseph, which he had an extraordinary game. I think if he can repeat and Alzari Joseph should tighten up a little bit, we can win this series, but we cannot be complacent. Batting, I think, has got to, perform in a way not because you get a good start that you're going to try and just hit the ball out of the park all the time. You can score 6 singles, would have brought them home for the loss of 3 or 4 wickets, but to have lost 5 wickets is too much. And Sri Lanka see what they can do to restrict us after the first the first pair put on such a good start, and they're going to be fighting for that. Who knows? They have one guy there that bowl over 140 miles an hour too, right? And we are accustomed to that, and they did not do that. Perhaps they will start with a spinner and a pacer, and then bring back Shamar Joseph or Alzari Joseph after the first 3 overs. So who knows? But the one thing for sure, we are 1 up, and it's better than being 1 down. And if you're 1 up, it means that you should be thinking that you beat them once at home, and you can beat them again. So I don't want to see them being complacent. I want them to see they go in and bat like their team with something in mind. They have to come to win the series. I'd love to see them win tomorrow's game, and then they can bring in some younger players and just test them. So that's my take.
Absolutely. Hall of Famer Dennis Eat, the fellow Hall of Famer Leon Francis speak about the youngsters. Darren Sammy captaining the West Indies team for the first time in Sri Lanka, winning the first ever T20 World Cup for the West Indies there in Sri Lanka for the first time. Um, how important it is for West Indies to go tomorrow for the kill, win the series tomorrow. 15 players was picked for the tour. Winning tomorrow would afford them an opportunity to give those players some game time, how important it is, and how can they go about putting a good performances together tomorrow to win this very important T20 series to remain number 3 in the world.
I believe that we do have this team that played yesterday shows a definite, wouldn't say promise, shows the attitude and the pattern that should come through tomorrow in the game tomorrow. However, I am a little concerned about the bowling performance of our rank rated number 1 Alzari. He definitely, as John Melber has pointed out, he needs to focus more on attacking the stump and less of those long hops, which inevitably ends up as 6 boundaries. Romario Shepherd, once again, is a bowler who, in all of his performance, always seems to be lacking and wanting. However, sometimes luck does fall on his place, and he ends up with 2 or 3 very crucial wickets. but I'd rather that he focus more on his accuracy and direction and less of the short balling, because I would certainly be thinking very much of replacing him for this next two series and giving others such as Alec Athenaeus, as John Milber has called for, an opportunity in place of Romario Shepherd. Shamard Springer, well, I wasn't 100% taken with what he was doing in his performance yesterday, but he's a young newcomer, and I'm willing to say, let's give him another shot, because he might well have been very nervous getting his, his national West Indian cap and going out there on, dare I call it, the big stage. So I would certainly look to give him another round tomorrow and be very mindful of the fact that as a youngster, we could make or break him based on how he's handled, whether we just give him one and discard him, which is not the approach. So I'd be prepared to give him another shot. And with Romario, with Powell's leadership, I think they can go out tomorrow and surprise Sri Lanka using the quick opening bowlers that they did before.
Honor Secretary Mr. Brown, your predictions for tomorrow: victory for the West Indies, winning the series, giving the youngsters opportunity come on the 17th.
Yes, sir. I expect the West Indies to win. They should put the pedal to the metal and make sure that they win the series. We are a better team. Let's not forget, all things being considered, it's the number 3 team playing the number 8 team. And by that ranking, you would expect West Indies overall to have a better squad, a deeper squad, and more options with their bowling especially. And our players are well experienced, and if the team remains the same, I don't have a problem with that. I know that Shepherd did not bowl particularly well, but in his first over, he was very unlucky that 3 edges went for 4, and he gave up 15 runs in that over. But it's part of the game, but there were edges. His second over, he definitely did not bowl well in that over, and those runs were well earned. Little concerned about Alzari. I know he takes wickets, but if he's going to bowl in the power play, you can't really afford to give up too many runs. And as it is, we gave up 54 runs in the power play, and we got over 50 dot balls. So as a bowling unit within a bowling performance, I would have to give them an A for their effort yesterday. Springer, I don't pay too much attention to what he did, because I would expect him to be getting his feet wet, so to speak. And if he gets another opportunity, I would expect him to bowl much better. With Moti, while the 2 Sri Lankans were adding their 82 runs, he bowled 1 bad delivery and was hit for 6. And he never bowled again for the remainder of the game. And I would just like to see, I would rather to see him at least bowl another over, as opposed to, say, Springer bowling 2 overs for 25 runs. I would have loved to see a little more faith in him, but we don't know what the thinking was behind that action. But I expect him to come back full in the next game and bowl his full quota of overs. So I am expecting them to win. I don't see any reason why they should lose. And we have several options, game-winning options in terms of batsmen. We won despite Hope, one of our better players, not coming off yesterday. And so I'm very hopeful for great success tomorrow.
Absolutely. And we will be back tomorrow with a watch along starting at 8:30 Jamaica time, 9:30 Eastern Caribbean, and parts of the United States time to cover. We'll also will be giving updates on the women game that will be playing tomorrow as well. A very important game against England for you. So be sure to lock it to our channel for continued coverage of the West Indies tour of Sri Lanka 2024 and also the ongoing Women's T20 World Cup being hosted by Bangladesh in the United Arab Emirates. We'll be back tomorrow to bring you coverage of those games. Thank you for joining. Hall of Famer John Melbourne, thank you for coming. Hall of Famer Dennis Heath, Hall of Famer Leon Francis, and Honorary Secretary of the Cricket Hall of Fame, Mr. Dale Brown. Thank you all for joining this evening. We hope to have you back at some point tomorrow in our continued coverage of the West Indies tour of Sri Lanka 2024. Until then, thank you for joining us, and we hope to have you back tomorrow. We leave you with scenes of West Indies and Sri Lanka on the field in those tour games. Goodbye for now.
Goodbye.
Thank you, sir.